Hey, Luke, it's great to have you on. We connected briefly, so you're able to share with me a few little things about yourself, and I kind of like what you are trying to do to help out parents and kids and teach them not only get off electronics, but maybe minimize it, at least, right? And we could
Yeah.
dive into all that and everything else that you're doing. If we could, let's just start with exactly, where you came from, your background, and then we'll go to where you're at today.
Yeah. Listen, thank you for that. Thanks for having me on. No doubt.
Yeah.
If I ever go too deep in the woods on this one, you rein me back in. So the question of tell me about yourself, that's a loaded question. When I was born in Long Beach, California, my dad was in the Coast Guard. So I was born into the military. Fast forward 17, 18 years, my dad is still in the military. So all I really knew was moving around, moving around, moving around. And when I was in fifth grade, my mom left. So my dad was a single dad, just my brother and I. He eventually remarried. So I was under a single dad, kind of a military dad, a lot of structure, which was healthy actually. A lot of stereotypes say it's not, but so that's kind of what I was raised with. And once I finished high school, I joined the military. So I spent 20 years doing active duty military, active duty army. Been to a lot of countries, been to a lot of states, done the things you see on TV. Not all the things, but I've done some of them. And I think that's really developed me for who I am today. Married, my wife and I, we live in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have 8 kids. We homeschool them. Proud to homeschool them. I wouldn't change it. Wouldn't have it any other way. Buddy and I started this website, and we go to church on the south side of Indianapolis. And yeah, he's got 7 kids. I have 8, and we got this outreach of trying to help parents and trying to help teens. But that's kind of me in a nutshell, man. A lot of structure, a lot of military background, and I enjoy calling things like they are. And I don't like tap dancing around issues. I think if more of us would call things like they are, we could solve some problems. I think.
I believe you. Yeah. And so you said you love to homeschool your children. What's the benefits of that?
Gosh, I almost had a conversation online with a high school junior, and I had to stop because I'm not trying to go down that path with him. Um, but okay, well, let's back up. If somebody has an issue with guns, they can look at an incident. We've had a few shootings recently. It's easy to find one or two incidences and say all around, I have an issue with guns. We've done this with the police over the last few years. Whatever side you're on, there's an issue and it becomes a national thing and people take a stance. Well, going down that road, if you watch the news, there's always an issue with teachers. A teacher has decided to teach some kind of ideology or agenda that goes against what a lot of parents would ever teach their kids. So I choose not to put my kids in that kind of environment. John, I think that the things that we went through in high school have become much worse with cell phones. It's pretty bad, and a lot of teachers got their hands tied. I know because I teach 12th grade. I'm a public school 12th grade teacher, and my friend, would not put my kids in school. So, man, I have more to it if you're interested.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, with me teaching, and I have some Army disability because I was hurt, got some Army retirement. We're able to afford just me being a teacher, and she can do this. So it's just the quality time of having the kids at the house. When the kids leave, and any parent hearing this, and you're a parent, this may be on your heart too. We don't get that time back. We don't. We feel like, oh, we got to work, got to make the money and support the family. That's what we got to do, and I get it, but we don't get that time back. And think about ourselves. What are our good memories of our parents? It's not when they're at work. I don't have a single good memory of any parent when they were at work. Not a single one, because it's always when I'm with them. So I think we're developing memories. The fun thing about homeschooling is going to Kroger grocery store is a field trip. Let's go to Walmart. It's a field trip. Um, yeah, but we get to talk. We're a Christian family, so we can talk about our own Christian values. Our oldest is finishing 8th grade, but she just finished algebra 2. So our 8th grade is advanced in math. It's not that she herself is amazing, but she has this gift, she has this talent. And I don't think that would have been pulled out in a public school setting. So there's another reason, I suppose. What do you think, John? What do you think about homeschooling and public school?
I've never thought about homeschooling. I do see the benefits because, you have that time with the children. At least one parent could at least, teacher to student, right? Um, but since my kids are in public school, I'll compare it more to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see you can teach your kids want to do one thing and they'll probably go the other way because most of the kids in their school is doing that other way, right? It's 1 against 500. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's hard. It's very hard, especially with kids having phones and stuff. I mean, that can be kind of difficult. And they do take them into school and they get distracted, even though they're not supposed to be on them, I guess, in class. I really don't know all the ins and outs of that. But yeah, so I mean, I went to public school, and I do believe sometimes there's a good thing to it where they
Agreed.
can learn how to deal with people, socialize and stuff like that. And they're not going to figure everything out right away, but they do need to figure out something on their own. As much as parents, we can guide them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my few takes on, you know, yeah, on public school. And
Yeah.
I
Valid
know
points. Yeah.
I know a few people that have homeschool people, their kids, but not many, not not around
Yeah.
here.
Here in south side of Indianapolis, they have homeschooling co-ops. I mean, it's a big deal. About a month ago, my friend and I that had this website, we went to a homeschooling convention. Because we're soccer coaches, we have a sports league of homeschooling. Think about how big homeschooling must be. They have not just a soccer team,
Yeah.
but a league.
Yeah.
We started practice last night. We had 133 kids come out from U5 up to varsity, and I coached the U15s. So it's pretty big. So they socialize a lot, but I don't know. They say that our brains aren't done developing until I've heard 25. I hear that age come out a lot, 25. And unfortunately, the school that you and I went to, there's peer pressure, right? There's a lot of desire to fit in and a lot of stuff, but I feel like culture has shifted because of technology, because of phones. I don't think parents are raising their kids as tough as they used to. It's a tough environment, man.
It is. It is. Yeah. So, I mean, so outside of, you're teaching your students at home or your kids at home. So what are you doing with the whole, the electronics and everything? Are you just focusing on your kids? I know it sounds like you have something going on with somebody, and
We do. Yeah, man. I appreciate that. It's actually a good segue into the website if that's okay here.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. So these16things.com. If somebody went to these16things.com, yeah, there's a little box pops up, says, hey, email address, get on the newsletter. You can close that down if you don't want to do that yet. Not even a big deal. So there's a drop down box, and we have these 16 things. Get it? These 16 things. We have these 16 things that we feel schools just aren't really focusing on. They're not teaching. Maybe it's not their job to, but somebody needs to. And if we can all identify that somebody needs to, as a parent, we got to ask, well, who? I mean, that's a great question. If we think that, here we go, electronic usage. I don't know a public school in America that is going to have class devoted to teaching teenagers proper technology uses on their cell phones. If they give them a Chromebook, maybe, but not on their cell phones. So if we think they need to learn how to regulate this, well, who's going to do it? Last week, I sent out a newsletter on Monday and Thursday on this topic of technology, actually. And I really hit on pornography. And I made it pretty clear. This is not for the parents, and we all go through our own struggles. That wasn't the focus. The focus was on no parent, no matter what their addictions are and their own vices are. That is not what this is about. No parent would ever sit down their 15-year-old son and say, son, I think that you should go get addicted to pornography for your entire life. A porn star would not do that to their son. Nobody would. However, a lot of parents will sit back because they don't know how to broach the topic. They really don't know how. Confidence level. And so who's teaching them about this issue, electronics and pornography? Well, the world is. I think the world is going to lead them down the wrong path on this one. Well, how about a 15-year-old girl? If each of us had a 15-year-old daughter, we would not set our daughters down and say, sweetie, I think it's healthy for you to date a guy that's addicted to this thing. I think it's healthy for you to when you're married, that guy's going to bring all those images into the bedroom time and time again. We would never tell our daughters this. So last week we're encouraging about phone usage and about this conversation on pornography, and it was a tough lesson to write. It was because it's thinking about my family. Mm-hmm. How would I ever talk to my kids about that? So yeah, John, electronic usage was just one topic among many. We could even talk about a couple on the website there, but yeah, they go to the website and they can browse the 16 things. You can learn a little bit about me, a little bit about Brian. Brian started the whole thing. We put some videos up on YouTube, the link that, kind of keep people giving them situations. Here's how you do this. Here's the good and the bad. And just trying to give some confidence to parents, John.
Okay,
That's
so
what
you
we can
send
do.
out, yeah, so you send out newsletters every week? So what
We
you do?
do on a Monday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern. This week, Brian's writing his on some medical care, how to give confidence to your kids for medical stuff, put them in CPR classes. My kids, because of his newsletter that I read on Monday, and again, him and I are into this together, but
Yeah.
when I get his newsletter, we talk about it as a family. So my kids did CPR class here in Indianapolis today. They got home 45 minutes ago, just big smiles, showing us their little CPR certification cards. And um, why wouldn't a parent want their kid to have that? We all would, but sometimes we need to hear some encouragement about that. So yeah, next week I'll write, and then on a Monday and Thursday morning, a newsletter. It's a 5-minute read. Maybe there's a book or something that goes kind of with the topic, and we encourage, hey, take the next couple of days. It's like, hey, John, if we could call you by name, we'd be like, hey, John, take that kid of yours, go to the table, and let's have a 10-minute conversation on whatever the thing is for the week.
And so the one that you're picking for that week, is that something off to the top of your 16?
Yeah, so it's going to fall under one of the umbrellas. I actually had some good feedback in our email from someone that gets a newsletter. Read it today. He said, hey, next week, can you talk about teaching our kids how to stay positive in the world that is negative of in every single news article, every video? How do we encourage our kids? Because we got a mental health crisis with teenagers. And I'm reading this. I'm like, this is from a real parent that has this real issue that they're struggling with in their kids. I might actually make that. Um, but yeah, so I don't have the website up, but if we were to browse, one of them that I really, really like is serving, leading, and following. Right. So let's say I want to do that next week. I would write up about serving, which I've already done. So I'll do leading. So with leading and following, John, I don't know your story. Did you ever have a chance to serve in leadership roles in the last couple of decades, supervisory,
Just,
managerial?
yeah, yes, that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And at some point, you were probably under management, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And and even though you might be in a managerial role, are you still under somebody else?
Yes.
Yeah, and so a lot of parents, I feel, oh, I want Johnny's the soccer captain out there in the soccer field. That's great. We'd like our kiddos to be leaders, but there's something to be said for teaching them how to also follow others appropriately and be underneath authority. And when they learn how to do that, it's going to make them a much better leader. And I'm thinking about writing that for next week. I just got to wrap my head around it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, man. So somebody could open up an email on a Monday morning, and there it is, following and leading, and what that looks like, and why following it does matter. And talk to your kids about it. Then there'll be a little video, maybe it's a little skit I do with my own kids at the dining room table, and hopefully we encourage some parents to do the same. That's our goal.
What kind of feedback do you get from your own children?
Well, they have gone from shy to outgoing on the videos. Yeah, so great question. Depends on the topic. The pornography one, I was really slow to talk to my kids because my oldest is 13.
All right,
Uh,
hold on. So you record this when you?
no, oh no, I did not record the conversation of me
Okay,
talking to my
okay.
kids about
That's what it sounded
pornography.
like. Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah.
So when I sit down and talk with my kids, I think that's the
Mhm.
question. What's the feedback during the
Yeah, for the
conversations?
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was slow to talk to my kids about pornography as a whole because they are still a little bit young and they don't have cell phones and they're homeschooled. And I will give that a little bit longer for the oldest two. But generally they start out uncomfortable. They do. They start out kind of say awkward, but it's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
We put ourselves in the shoes of a teenager. Well, what's dad doing? Why is dad bringing us to the dining room table? Why is dad having a conversation with me? Why does dad look all serious? It's probably kind of weird for him. So it can start out a little awkward. Um, but once the conversation is done, no matter how it goes, and I do believe this, no matter how it goes and we part ways, even if we had arguments, which we haven't, but even if there are, debates and arguments and quarrels, when we part ways with our kids, they are going to remember, like, dang, my dad cares about me.
Mhm.
Man, I didn't think my mom would sit me down and talk about this important thing. So the feedback has actually been really, really good. You just got to get past the first couple minutes of uncomfortable.
Yeah. Now, do they? I mean, do they ask you questions then, or are they just?
I I appreciate your question there. That's a big deal. Um, if Short answer is yes,
Mm.
but the reason for it matters. Um, if we teach our kids, I'm sorry, if we tell our kids what to do all through their teenage years, we're going to get them to do most of it because we told them to. But what do we think they're going to do as soon as they leave the house? If we want our kids to believe whatever our faith is, I mean, we may think that they do, but if they don't know why they believe in the things they believe in, they're going to walk away from it as soon as they leave the house. So we are big believers in the why. So look, we're going to talk about serving, and here's why. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't pretend to know your faith, but Jesus, at one point, he got down on his knees and washed the feet of all 12 disciples. Even if someone doesn't follow Jesus, the stories, I think is well known. And you got to think, what does it look like to be the leader and you get down in that time and you wipe the muck and the dirt and the grime and the literal horse and all this other, their feces that's in the road, to wipe that off of these people and then dry their feet off with the robe around your waist. And then he gives the instruction, serve others as I have served you. Oh my gosh. Even if you don't follow the Bible, that is a great image of servant leadership. So we would explain why. It's like, kids, here, this is why serving matters. This is why it'll help you make friends. It's going to help you with friendships, with intimate relationships. You know, getting a husband's going to help you at the workforce, serving people around you, peers, serving subordinates, serving superiors, serving everybody. It's going to really set you apart. And when they hear the why, I think we get better buy-in with that. I think. I don't know. What do you think? Are we doing it wrong?
No, I think that's great. They have to ask questions, otherwise they won't learn themselves. And digging those questions out of them can be a little tough sometimes.
Oh my gosh, it's like being a dentist. It's so painful pulling those teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
How old do you what do you
I
have?
got a 13-year-old boy and a 10-year-old daughter. So for me, it's the boy.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. It is tough.
It is.
Um, man, but if a parent is listening to this and they've never done anything remotely close to this, I get that. I really do. I know what it's like to come home from work, 6 o'clock at night, and maybe you go open the door to the fridge looking for a beer. Maybe you're hoping your spouse made dinner. And then after you do all that stuff, you sit down on the couch, watch something on TV. It's like, oh my gosh, it's 9:30. I can do anything with my kids. And you do it 5 days in a row. Then when the weekend comes around, you're thinking, now it's my time. And a whole weekend goes by. We didn't spend anything with our kids. So if anyone listening can relate to that, me too. Me too. So when we do sit down with our kids, I think it creates a significant emotional event. I remember 20 years in the Army, I could probably give you 24 significant emotional events. I couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast 3 days ago, but I could tell you crazy event just like you could from 2 decades ago. And so in the eyes of our kids, I really think we're creating these significant emotional events. And your 13-year-old, we both had 13-year-olds. Fast forward 15 years, right? You know, they're both 28, maybe a kid or two of their own. And they'll be remembering what we did and thinking, I want to do what dad did. Woo! Man, that's powerful, man.
Yeah, it's up to us to decide how we want to raise our children and make the change now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. I'm bored with that. It's up to us.
It
Yep.
is. Yeah. And, for the people that want to make a change, it's good to, like that one person you mentioned that would reached out to you about, I guess, asking how the positive, how to find
Yeah.
positive stuff instead of negative stuff all the time, and for just my thoughts on that, it's just presenting to them the positive stuff that's out there. There's a lot all over TikTok or whatever you want to talk about. What I mean, it's all over. They just have to look for it, but they're not looking for it.
Yeah. No, that's good. In fact, so here we go. I like how you're bringing up intentionality. You didn't say the word, but man, you sure talked about it. One of our topics is how to negotiate. Another one's how to deal with people in general. Here we go. How do you get what you want? How do you convince people to do things? Maybe you'd like a certain podcast guest. Maybe you want to be on a certain show. You want people to listen. We got to know how to negotiate and how to sell an idea. But the thing is, anybody listening that sells ideas, that tries to negotiate and do anything, we do it all day long, no matter our job. we don't take our kids to work with us. They don't see us, that we don't demonstrate that. So how do we teach our kids how to sell an idea? Your kid wants to go to the movie. Dad, can I go to the movies? No. Oh, conversation's done. Well, eventually that kid's going to be 19 and wants to get a pay raise at work. Can I get a raise? No, you're fired. Well, what if we could teach them how to do this stuff? We can if we are very, very intentional. That was one of the first lessons we put out, was how to sell an idea. And the word intentional is like, kids aren't going to see it. You got to intentionally teach it at the house. We had a lot of fun with that one.
I bet you did. Yeah.
Does your 13-year-old ever want to go out, sleep over someone else's house or have people over ever?
Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, he likes to play his video games and stuff and fish and all that, but yeah, so he'll hang out with his friends, not as much as sleeping over.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a video game problem or not, because you're right next to them, it's playing in the same house. So.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole different conversation, but you could link it here though. Let's say there's something going on and you're like, son, we got to limit that time, or you got to shut it off, or whatever the thing is that he doesn't like. Well, our young teenagers, when they sell an idea, they're just pitching what they want, and they don't understand. You got to sell it. You got to give something. Got to give dad something. It's got to be some kind of a middle ground there. And if we could teach them that, which we all understand, if we could teach them that young, man, they could be unstoppable in the workforce.
No, he's a great kid. He'll play video games, and he'll ask me, if he can go on for a tournament or whatever certain times.
Yeah.
So we find a happy medium for that stuff. And there's been times I jump on and play with him. That's right. Even though I'm not that great, but that's what he enjoys. So I got to do that if he's going to come out and do what I enjoy. And that's just a part of not just being a parent, but connecting with other people in general. Doing a little bit of what they want to do besides everything that you want to do.
I'm with you, man. Our girls play Hogwarts on Xbox. Limited. Okay. I do Assassin's Creed. I'll get on and play a game too.
Yeah.
I'm a gamer. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Kids have fun with games. I do too.
Yeah, and they're laughing and playing and having a good time. So it's all about it,
Yep. I'm trying to think of something else from the website that being intentional matters. Have you ever sat down and had conversations with your son about finances and maybe good ways to handle money? Has that conversation really come up yet?
I've tried several times with both of them.
How's that working out?
It's a hit or miss for me, because there's so many other people out there that have other thoughts and theories and how to handle their money. So it just it's me against one, or it's me against everybody else.
Yeah,
it's kind of a little hard. Although it's one of those things you have to stay consistent with and just keep showing up and show them all the time. That's my belief, because if you don't keep showing them and talking about it, then it's just going to fade away. That's how I look at it. And and that brings me real quick, the whole positive thing with that person. He said something. One thing I want to share is that I've missed a few days, but I try to text my kids every morning something positive, even though if they don't, it's just something that shows up on their text message. But
John, I'm going to steal that.
I know,
dude. I'm going to steal it and run with it.
Go for it. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It's just something small. And I ask them, I'm like, do you read what I text you? Yeah, sometimes. They don't respond to me. I'm like, all right, that's all I want to know. I don't, and it's just going to keep popping up.
Man, I dig that, but you're being intentional. That's not an accident. You sending a text message, not an accident. That's intentional.
No, it's not an accident. No, but yeah. So back to the finances. Yeah. So I have a different way of thinking, a lot more than other people I know around me on finances. So, there's always that give and take from what they hear from everybody else or what they see.
No, that's right.
They see a lot on TikTok or whatever. You can make X amount of dollars in X amount of months or whatever. And
sounds great. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah. I think talking about money and the courses will wrap around to these 16 things. We have one on, I have biblical financial literacy, but at the end of the day, even if someone doesn't ever read the Bible, the concepts stick that sit your kid down and intentionally talk to them. So I believe these statements. If I offend somebody, I'm sorry. I think that it is easy to accidentally become fat, but you cannot accidentally lose that weight and get fit. There's nothing accidental about getting out of it. I think that you can accidentally, just over time, owe $100,000 in debt. Just go to college, get some credit cards. You cannot accidentally walk out of that. You have to be intentional with both. And I'm not trying to wait till my kids are 22 years old to have a conversation about credit cards, debt, loans, owing people things, being wealthy, being self-sufficient. And somewhere in there is knowing just how to be content. But I like something you said, man. It's you against all these other things and people. And if we don't sit down and talk about our kids with these things, talk to our kids about these things, somebody else will.
Yeah.
Somebody else will. And I don't know if you've had to deprogram some things that your kids heard.
Yeah, I would say maybe a little bit. I mean, they're probably still young and stuff when we're, trying to talk to them about that. But yeah, I'll be honest with you, my daughter, you can tell she likes to save, like she's totally different. And then my son, he's all, wants to buy his video games or whatever, So
Oh yeah, he's a spender.
Yeah, you got two different ways that they like to spend their money or save it.
I've heard it's healthy that when people get married, it's healthy for one to be the spender and one to be the saver.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I
don't know.
I heard that somewhere. I heard it somewhere.
That I do not know. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just something else that, so if we're talking about a couple of these things, and one of these things may hit with a parent, they may be like, oh, I need to go check this out. My favorite one on there, my personal favorite, is standing for truth. And again, faith is intermixed, but in the website, but standing for truth. My kids were watching a Disney show a while back last year, Baymax Plus. Did you ever watch Big Hero 6?
Yeah.
A bunch of years ago. Do you remember Baymax, the big white puffy robot guy?
Yeah.
Did you know he had
right?
he had like a spin-off TV show?
Okay.
Yeah, so my kids are watching, and I'm laying on the floor reading the news, and the third episode, it was brand new. That third episode just came out the day before. My wife says, Luke, did you see that? I looked up, I said, no. And there's Baymax, and he's inside a bathroom stall with an 8th grade girl. And I'm like, what is this? And she rewound it. And again, this may rub some people wrong, but please stay with me to the end. Disney animated Baymax walking into an all-gender bathroom with about 10 different stalls, which means it's not like going to the gas station where it's just a gender neutral one stall. Okay, so okay, now you have my attention, Disney. And then as it continues, in this episode, Baymax's job was to help an 8th grade girl who had her period to go get a tampon or maxi pad. And if I wouldn't have been there, my daughters are watching this all gender bathroom stuff. And no matter what side you're on, we're talking about somebody will teach our kids if we don't.
Mm.
So it shows them at the supermarket. In this 47-second clip, or might be 43, has gone viral. Shows Baymax looking for tampons. And he asks some lady, excuse me, which one do you recommend? Oh, I recommend this one. Somebody pops in, well, I like these ones. And the third person that pops in is a man with the transgender flag as a sweater. And he says, I like these ones with wings. And then it keeps going, and a flash is gone. I mean, literally, and a flash is gone. So I had to rewind it and pause it. We had to have a conversation at the dining room table. All my kids. I was forced into a conversation about transgender this past fall. I was forced into it. Disney forced me into it. I'm not anti-Disney. I'm not anti-trans, but I was forced into a mature conversation at the dining room table. I had to be very intentional about it. So the idea that we can just let the world and let the culture raise our kids, maybe it worked for us okay, but our culture, man, the slope of how fast things are moving is crazy today. I don't know. What do you think, John? Do you think I'm going to rub somebody the wrong way with that story?
No, you're sharing what's already out there in public. So
yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of parents would just shy away from it and not say anything and not even explain anything. Even if it was about their child having a period one day, they probably never even said anything. Who knows? But yeah, I think what you did was great. You sat down with your kids immediately or the next day, whatever it was, but you were able to talk to them. And I had a few instances, nothing like that, where it's kids see somebody that, is heavy, and so they start wondering if they're heavy, or, how big is big, and all that stuff, and you have to kind of put them at that level. Like you're not them, or you can change if you want to change, and that's entirely up to you. So, And they'll watch videos where it goes from, they were this big and now they're this,
Yeah.
they lost all this weight, extra, whatever. But that's what's all out there. And and this is for boys and girls and men and women. They have you, hey, you got to look like this. And that's it, and that's not the case. I mean, I totally believe you have to believe in love and love yourself first inside. And, then you can find, how you can work on the outside,
You need a marker and you need to go to that back wall and you need to write that down, man. Is that already on your wall? Because that is very, very good.
No, that's not on my wall, but maybe after this, I'll go back.
Yeah,
And
man, you got to love yourself and before you understand what it's like to love others.
yeah, you do, you really do. And yeah, so that's what I got from my children so far, and they do have phones. It's, a little bit was my part, a little bit was not. So unfortunately, and you can only restrict them so many times, so long, and it is what everybody else is doing. So I commend those that are out there that don't give it to them right away. They have a set age or a set time for their kids when they're more mature and can handle things and they understand things that are out there, because you have access to almost anything that you can imagine. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, there's some great stuff. My daughter would show me how to make a craft or whatever and do a recipe and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Let's do, and it's not me cooking and she's doing it. I mean, I'm like, all right,
it's a win.
Yeah. So it's got its pluses, minuses, but yeah, there should be a limit. And, and same goes for us adults. I mean, we shouldn't be jumping on all the time, because that, again, they're watching us, right? So we're setting the example for how they should perform, and if I'm on my phone all the time when they're around me, then that's exactly what they're going to be doing.
Man, I feel convicted when I hear people talk like that, because I'm on my phone a little too much. Yeah. And
Yes,
my girls, they don't have phones yet, but when they do, they're going to remember, well, dad was on his phone a lot, and they won't care what I was doing on it. They'll just know that I was on it. So put that on the wall too. Our kids are watching us, but they are. I mean, they absolutely are. When I was deployed back in 2011, I was driving around, Staff Sergeant Penn, he was driving me somewhere, and he had some music on. So we weren't in a Humvee at the time. We're in a little van, and it might've been Jay-Z. I don't remember who the artist was, but I mean, it was profanity coming out, but he was bobbing his head. Reached over, turned it down. I was like, oh, First Sergeant, come on, man. What's up? Sir, Sergeant Penn, let me ask you, man, you have kids? Yeah. What do you got? I got I think he said a 13-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter. I know he had 2 girls. First one's a young teenager. Okay. Let me ask you, man. 2011, people did still buy CDs. Let's say get back with from deployment and you go to Walmart and you buy this album, you buy the CD, and you say, I'm going to gift it to my 13-year-old. But before you gift it, you actually take the CD out and you throw the CD away. And then you take a black Sharpie and the cover of it, you Sharpie it out so they don't know who it is. Okay, so all that's left are the lyrics. And you take these lyrics and you say, sweetheart, 13-year-old child of mine that I love, here are these lyrics. They are so good. They're so awesome. They're enriching. I want you to memorize them. They're going to change your life. Would you do that, Sergeant Penn? Now you started cussing. Nah, First Sergeant, no effing way, blah, blah. Then what are we doing? Listening to it. Because I know when you're driving around with her, we want to be the cool parent. We want to have the newest thing, the newest whatever it is, show them that we're cool, and they're watching us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you knew this, and it's convicting, man, I wasn't trying to judge him, but man, this hits me too. But if we really understood that, we might change some of the things we do.
It's big. Right there with you. I totally agree. So you go back to your leadership, right? You are the leader. You're setting the example for your children.
And you mentioned finances. So
Mhm.
John, if you don't mind me talking about the leadership with the finances, somebody's listening to this that is dirt poor. I mean, they live in poverty, but they're trying to raise their kids. And so as a parent, you may disqualify yourself as a financial expert. And I understand that, right? You're pulling in 50 grand a year, raising a family of 4 or 5. Tough business. But don't disqualify yourself. To that kid, you are the subject matter expert on everything. That kid probably wants to hear from you. So, I think some parents will disqualify based on their own circumstances or things that they've done, but we do know ways to do things. And if you were poor and I were poor, it doesn't mean we can't talk to our kids about good things to do with money. They do want to hear it from us. Yeah, I like how you said it. We're the leaders in their eyes. You think about that often?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I'll spin off of that a little bit. So with the finances or whatever it is you're sharing, you're talking to your children about, I would share with them what as their parent, but I also encourage them to go ahead and look elsewhere for other avenues or whatever it is that you're talking about, seek help and guidance. So, for example, like I have a coach for a few things and, I'm going to try and have them connect with them too, to, it's not, I have them for a reason, right? So I can grow and be better and, here, sit next to me. This is what we're doing. That's how I look at it. So, everything I learned outside from growing up, I learned on my own, talking to people like yourself and others, to grow and become better. Because I don't want to just sit around and not learn nothing. I mean, I want to get better. Right. Yeah. So that's what I tried to encourage them. And I'm going to try the whole coach thing soon in about a week or so. We'll see where it goes, but that'd be a fun little, experiment. What do you want to call it?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I like how you said you want to improve in things. I suppose one of the last things from these 16 things that I think is kind of worth bringing up, because I know our time is limited. If anybody listening, if a parent was listening, here's the question: what have you, me too, what have we done in the last 30 days to improve ourselves physically or intellectually or financially? Okay, that's tough to answer. Let's bump it out to a year, right? April of 2022. Same question. What have we done to improve ourselves? That's a tough question to answer while our kids are watching that. Okay. No matter what we have or have not done, we all want our kids to improve. So this is a great example. Even if we personally haven't done the things, we still know the right thing to do. It's still okay to sit down and talk to the kids. John, have you ever done an obstacle course race like Spartan races, or I don't know if you've ever heard of those, or Tough Mudder, stuff like that?
I know what you're talking about. I never did one.
Yeah. So Brian and I, we went and did, gosh, combined like 45 of these races last year. We bought the season pass. We drove everywhere. We were pretty dumb. A lot of money spent. Yeah. But we got the cool medals. Well, that would be an example of improving yourself and doing something tough. So this year for our website, we just simply called Spartan Race. We're like, hey, you want people to sign up. We want people to get off the couch. Give us a promo code. They straight up gave us a promo code. It saves everyone like 40%. I mean, we're trying to do what we can to help people create those stories. Take the kid with you. Take the teenager. Go carry a sandbag. Do a couple pull-ups. Run up the hill. Improve ourselves. So, dude, I love the way you talk, man. If you were a coach, I'd sign up.
Yeah, and I'll encourage whoever's listening to not wait those 30 days and just do something today or tomorrow. A little bit. Just do a little bit and start doing something. And
That's good. Yeah. Yep. Walk a mile, read a book, do something. Small improvements, they add up.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Good, John. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you gave us your website. Is there any other way people can connect with you?
Great question. So the number one way is the website.
Okay.
When they first show up to the website, it'll be a pop-up for your email. You can enter there or not, but all of the 16 things that they click on or at the bottom of the whole website, there's always a place to enter email. And we always give a link to the YouTube. So we would urge people to sign up for the YouTube too. We put a couple of videos up there each week, just more things to give some confidence, to empower the parents. And maybe every 5 things you find one that hits. That's normal. That's normal for a lot of us. So also on the website, there's a way to contact us. We have our email there, these 16 things at yahoo.com. We would love to get ideas from parents, ideas that parents they're struggling with. We have used 2 or 3 ideas from parents already. We are not the subject matter experts. We're just trying to help, man. No cost, no money. We're not making money. We're just trying to empower some parents, give them some confidence.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. So what's next? I mean, you're doing the newsletters, you're doing some videos. Is there something else that you're looking at doing?
Yeah, there is. We were able to speak at a pretty small, a small homeschooling group. They asked if we could. I'd like to go speak to some people locally. And Brian and I, at some point, we'd like to put the money in, get a good microphone, get the stuff. And and maybe just have a bi-weekly podcast or twice a week podcast. And if it grows, great. We're not making money. The more people that listen, I imagine this. Every time we're talking to somebody, I'm looking at a map of the US and a little thumbtack goes on. Like, okay, there's some more parents that know they're not alone. Some more parents here that got some tools. More parents that, okay, I can go do this. To me, that's the victory. So yeah, down the road, maybe speaking to some other small groups and maybe running our own podcast. I want to be like you when I grow up, John. Be like you.
Yeah, be like me. There's a question I ask everybody. So what are 3 key things you've learned and used along your journey?
So not the journey with this specifically, but we're talking about a life journey.
Yes.
First and foremost, it's going to be a little spiritual here. For me, it's standing for Christ. If somebody were to ask me what is true and what is not true, I can bring everything back to Christ. There is a solid truth out there. What's true for me, John, is not true for you. No, there is actual truth. We have different opinions on the truth, but there is truth. Another thing would be, you mentioned loving people. That is easily in the top 3. If we continue to draw lines and divide, man, our country's in a mess because of that. And if we can look past the skin color, we can look past the gender, we can look past all these things. Everybody has worth. Every time I get a scam call from somebody from Bangladesh trying to steal my money, no matter what that person's doing, trying to scam me that money out of India, that Indian person has value and worth as a human being. And if I were to meet that person, I would shake their hand and buy them a beer. And the third one is probably to be willing to call a spade and not be silenced out of fear. I'm not saying say hurtful things, but we need to be able to say things without fear. So yeah, calling something right, calling something wrong, we should be able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those really popped into my head with that question.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate sharing all that.
Yeah, bro, that's a great question. I'm going to steal that question too.
All right. You're stealing everything.
You're going to copyright every time I ask you, you get 5 cents.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's awesome what you're doing. Keep going. And I'm glad we were able to connect and you were able to come on and we could have this conversation.
Same thing, John. Thanks for having the voice and the platform to give this out. Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely.